99.5 FM WBAI in the NY. Welcome back to a brand new episode of BBS, Big Black Seinfeld. Show about nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Sounds provocative, didn't it, Bashtin?
Yes, sir. Sounds terrible, but yeah.
It's provocative. It gets the people going.
I think Black Seinfeld itself is provocative. So,
But Big Black Seinfeld, it adds an extra little, little edge to it, a little bit of sensuality, a little bit of more aggression, if you will.
You don't think BS by itself is already aggressive enough?
Well, the initials BS, it has a lot of connotations to it. It could just mean backstage.
Yeah.
It can also mean bullet, but we can't say that on the radio. Still, it might be midnight, but we can't say that. Still, this is still FM radio. We need to have some sort of decorum. Maybe we can say that at like 1 a.m,
or maybe
but
this was like a TV show past 11 p.m. Then we could say it.
I don't know past 11 anymore. I've been hearing a lot of cuss words just fly freely now.
At 10,
even at 10,
Yeah,
at 9,
9.
at 8.
Yep.
So I don't know. Television has been changing, but radio is still the same.
That's true. You know what? Before we introduce ourselves, I do think that if we compete with other shows overseas, they could curse all throughout the day. Well, I guess maybe past 6 p.m. But for the longest time, no one could curse until like 11 p.m. That was a couple of years ago. If you remember, South Park had that episode when they found out they could say the S word, and they just said it at like over 150 times just to do it.
Yes, because they had that meter. They had the ish meter, I'd like to call it.
Yes.
And so every time they said ish, it would mark up the ish meter.
Yeah, and I actually did watch an interview about why they did that in the first place, because he said he was watching like some random terrible show on TNT, and he heard them say that. He's like, "What? Since when? Since they changed the rules?" They were always pushing. They're always pushing the boundaries. So it's very interesting to see, because if you watch TV shows from overseas, like the UK, they're cursing like left and right. Like this was live, so it's funny.
They're saying the C word that rhymes with punt and everything. They UK television is very different than US television. Sometimes in watching some UK shows, the comedy can be a bit more dry. It isn't huge ADHD jump cuts with the cameras. They let things breathe a lot more. They let the camera shots breathe a lot more. There'll be just one still shot for a good 15 minutes and nothing else would be happening. That's a huge difference between UK and US television.
I wonder if they go through the same problem our shows in America go through by having multiple directors for just one season. So it's very rare for, let's say, for example, this S70 shows had like one director for the entire series, and that's super rare.
Yeah, very rare.
So,
well, if you should know, my name is Giovanni Anglin, Trinidadi, Panamanian Poppy, Rude Boy, Top Gunna. October is one of my favorite months of the year. I am a huge Paramore fan, nothing else. And I would also like to say, because I've been asked about this again today, Bashtin, from people who are interviewing me, just in case if you don't know and you're listening to this show and you plan on interviewing me for a job position, everything that is said here tonight on this show and beyond and from yesterday and the week before that, it's all for good and fun and entertainment. Don't take what we say too literally. And the things that Bashtin rants about, aka Lupin, because I was asked about that, just remember, my views are my views and Bashtin views are Bashtin's views.
Someone asked you about that?
Someone asked me about you ranting about Lupin.
Oh, I don't apologize, and I stick to my statement. Whatever I said, I don't remember.
Just know that I want the job, and Bashtin should not cost me the job based on what you said about Lupin.
Understood. And my name is Bashtin. I'm recording live from LA Geos in Brooklyn, New York. This is Black Seinfeld. We are on all social medias at Black Seinfeld NY, Twitter, Instagram. We also have the podcast for the old episodes. So if you have any type of place where you listen to your podcast, Stitcher Radio, Castbox, Spotify. I myself been using Google Podcasts because it's just easier to use. in
Oh,
my
look
opinion.
at you.
Yeah, just simple UI. Sometimes you just need a simple UI, but just type in Black space Seinfeld and you get to see all our previous episodes. But yeah, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach us out at blackseinfeldny@gmail.com. We also have our own personal website, blackseinfeld.com, where you can see our previous episodes through a podcast medium, and you could also watch this on YouTube as well. Just type in Black Seinfeld. But yeah, it's easier if you go to our website to see the videos because we are
Definitely.
not stuck into the YouTube algorithm yet. It's a little bit more difficult to do for some reason, but yeah.
That's right. It's all about the consistency too. You know what I mean? We got to consistently just upload clips, upload
Clips.
just random clips
It,
of the show.
it's
That's it.
it's clips, and sometimes I think the way we designed the show doesn't give like breathe room for clips.
That's fair.
But it's either gotta chop it off in like at 3 minutes because ideally I want like 12 minutes clips, but maybe 3 minutes
Mm,
might be what I might need to do. So something I
I
can
don't know.
figure out
Maybe
by next year.
maybe the banters that we have, the opening segments of the show, they're pretty 12, 15 minutes a piece.
Sure, that's something for me to kind of sit down and stick with. But hey, if you have any advice, you want to give us some stuff, like I said, email us blackseinfeldny@gmail.com.
That's right, because we do read the emails. We've been getting a lot of interesting emails for the month of October. I just want to thank the people for messaging certain things to us for the month of October because I actually went ahead and listened to certain stuff. I don't know if you saw one of the emails that was sent, and it was a story from the Moth, and it was based on this well now teacher who was living in Milwaukee at the time, and he told a story about trying to attract this gentleman at the gay club, and then it found out after moving to New York and becoming a teacher, uh, this person was arrested because of a lot of the stuff that he was doing. It turned out that he was a serial killer, and he would and the dude was Jeffrey Dahmer. Okay, the dude was Jeffrey
If that
Dahmer.
was just, it was that was garbage, man. I'm sorry. I was like, you're supposed to hype it up
No,
a
I
little
don't
bit.
care.
All
I'm
right,
not hyping
all
it. It
right.
was Jeffrey Dahmer. Okay,
Moving.
it was the dude tried to holler at Jeffrey
Yeah,
Dahmer, but Jeffrey Dahmer was not giving him no play. That is the best blessing in disguise
that's
ever.
kind of nuts. That's kind of
It
nuts.
is kind of nuts. It's very nuts. But hey, he wasn't into white dudes.
Nuts. Just to continue talking about clips and quick rants. Just want to do a quick rant about LA pizza. I know Gio was bothering me about this the other day, and just want to clarify: in no way, shape, or form is pizza good in LA. It's just very risky. That's all I have to
That's your
say.
first. Wait, first off, that's your first fault right there. You went to try and get a really good slice of pizza in LA. That's not what they're
Oh, I
known
didn't
for.
want to do it, but just to keep the story
Oh
short, I wasn't. It wasn't a good pie. That's all I have to say.
no, Bashtin, I'd
As a
like for you to
joke.
no, break down the math, my brother. I'd like to know what was wrong with the pie. Was it the dough? Was it the sauce? Was it the cheese? Was it just the quality of the water that they used to create the dough? Like, break it down for us because we here in New York, we can't relate to LA pizza, okay? Because it's just something that we just don't know about. All we know is California Pizza Kitchen. That's it. That's all I know when it comes to pizza in LA. I don't know. Maybe they put avocado on the pizza. I don't know, but can you just inform us on the East Coast what you have to endure because we didn't make the choices that you made?
So just to kind of break down how New York City works with pizza, theoretically, I have never tried it, but I've heard great things that Staten Island has its own style of pizza and it's really good because there's a huge like Italian culture still over there. So Italian, so you have a Staten
That's
Island
where they ran to.
Italian. So you have like good pizza over there, right? At Staten Island. Then you have Queens Pizza, which is very mixy. The more local the pizza, the better, in my opinion. Then you have Brooklyn, which is the same concept. The more local the pizza, the better. Especially if it's been there for much longer. Gio, can you attest to that?
Oh, absolutely. You have to go to. I prefer going to Old Brooklyn
Mm-hmm.
to get some really good pizzas, or you'd have to. you'd have to go to somewhere that's been a local staple for a long time. The best way to find out whether pizza is good is when you go in and you see the decorum is not changed at all. Everything is old, busted up. If it feels like you're going into like a time worm,
Hmm.
like a time loop, and it's very old in there, that's how you know the food is good.
So that's how it is in Brooklyn. Now Manhattan's
Yeah,
very hit and miss. It's very
very true.
difficult. Sometimes you could go bougie and still be good, but you're
Mhm.
overspending. And sometimes you could go for, hey, this looks super dusty. I bet it's good, but it's regular as hell, and it's super disappointing. Manhattan is very, very tricky for pizza. The more popular the spot, the most likely it's whack. Okay, if they have too many toppings out on display, most likely it is whack. That's a fact in Manhattan for me. You
I
agree or
recommend people
disagree?
always go. Uh, See, Manhattan's tricky because I normally don't. I try not to get pizza from Manhattan because
True.
of the reasons
Mm-hmm.
that you obviously say because you have to deal with a lot more tourists there too. Even if it comes to the local spots because whenever, a lot of tourists like coming into New York and they want authentic New York pizza, they want authentic New York bagels, they want authentic New York glizzy, they want authentic New York everything. Okay, and so sometimes where there's a lot of people, it can be overrated, right? I used to love going to the Prince Street Pizzeria to get the the pepperoni square pizza, but now it's getting overrated and people are just lining their asses outside for it, and it's just getting a bit overrated. Pizza's still the pizza's good. It was really good, but now it's just getting overrated. Let's talk about Lombardi's, which is known as probably one of the first ever pizzerias here in New York that was cultivated back in like 1910.
With the oven, brick oven still.
Right, with
The
the brick oven.
grandfathered brick oven.
Yes, grandfather of the brick oven and all
No,
that.
no, it's grandfathered. Is in that it's illegal to have like that certain style of brick oven in a restaurant.
Yeah.
But there's like three locations that still have it, and that's one of them.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's there now as a historic piece, and of course there's a lot of people that come from all over the world to go try Lombardi's pizza pie, but now it's just
So
there's always Joe's Pizza,
yeah,
Ray's Pizza. You heard all the spots. I'm sure y'all listen to the Food Network or the Travel Channel. You see all the destinations in New York you got to go and try in these pizzerias. They're cool and all, but like it doesn't really live up to the hype.
yeah, and I completely agree. And just what I said with pizza, it works the same with bagels. I think Long Island definitely is really really good on bagels as well, and donuts. Now, and also New York City and donuts, just not it. You know,
Yeah.
it's very mixy because you go to a spot and it's just pretty much Costco grade donuts that you're most likely eating. It's
Well,
very difficult to find like a nice bakery that's focused on donuts. They're more likely focused on cakes or other.
mm,
It could be like other cultural stuff.
that is
So like
true.
empanadas and
The place
cookies.
the place that I work at, we actually have a donut chain, but it's only three locations that they have. It's called the Donut Plant. I don't know if you've ever had it.
Yeah, I have it.
What were your thoughts on it? Because it's a donut centric place, but they focus on vegetarian donuts, so they don't use egg at all, and some can be vegan. They do vegan donuts. They have two styles. They have the gluten-free donut and they have the cake style donut. And then they also have the filling donuts. It can be sugary at times. That's why I don't like most of the donuts that they have to offer. I do appreciate the different things that they try to do each season. So this time they have like a pumpkin donut, which is filled with like some pumpkin cream, and they have some pumpkin seeds on the outside. They have an apple cinnamon donut. My favorite is always going to be the black and white donut because it's half of a chocolate donut and half of a vanilla donut, and it looks like a black and white cookie. That's forever my favorite. Everything else can be a bit too much or just way too sweet for me because that's what a lot of vegetarians will try to do to like um try to mask not having certain things in just regular baking. Like, for example, not having an egg, they'll try and use something else to bind
It's a
up the
substitute.
dough. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, so quick first thing, shout out to my boy Amador. He used to work at Donut Planet, so he's the one that told me about
Really?
it. He told me the whole concept, how it was worked, how the owner was trying to, just be super creative. Like if he has an
Yeah.
idea, he will, if it takes a year to make that donut, he'll make it. I think there was
They're in
like
the
a donut with like an
Hinduism.
avocado in it.
Nah, not anymore. I don't have there's not that in my location
So,
where I'm at.
so it was really good. It was very savory, for a donut, but that didn't feel too much like a donut in terms of sweetness. But that's just pretty much like New York in terms of everything. Now, just to hop back to my LA story. So when you're designing a pizza, it's very simply the bread, the bottom, the base of the pizza, the dough. Then you have your sauce. Then you have your cheese. Toppings are whatever. I don't judge a pizza based on its toppings. Toppings is just, it's like very subjective, right? It's not for everybody. Some people like pineapple, some people don't. It is what
Fair.
it is. For me, if I'm really gonna test it and I don't trust your pizza, I add pepperoni to it. That's my
Of
go-to.
course.
Now this pizza is so bad, but I'll give it its flowers in terms like the bread is good, right? The bottom is good, but the problem is because it's so thin in certain parts, it has holes, and they try to cover the hole with cheese on top of it. So that's
Oh,
red flag number one.
it looked like one of them school pizzas.
Yeah, it's worse. It's just like a very badly spun before thrown in the oven pizza. Now, off the first bite, oh, also they put Parmesan on top of it. I ain't asked for Parmesan, and I ain't seen
Yeah,
no
that's weird.
Parmesan on on the recipe in the description. So that's number two, a problem.
That's red flag. Yeah.
It's almost as bad as a red flag when you're going to get French toast and they put powdered sugar on top of it.
I hate it
Red
when they
flag.
do that with French toast, pancakes, freaking waffles. You put powdered sugar on that, and I hate it. Off
Just
rip.
leave the scoop of butter, okay? So I could push it
Yes,
off. All right.
or at least give me the option. Like, yo, do you want powdered sugar? Don't just put this on it, because like that's a turn off for me. I'm, yo, I'm mad you brought. I'm
I,
glad
I
you brought
I
it up,
just
but I'm
had
not
to
because it pissed me off.
I just had to explain the feeling of how I felt seeing Parmesan on the slice. Now, the sauce is extremely, extremely, extremely bad. It's bitter. It does taste like crushed tomatoes. They didn't have enough time cooked. Because if you're making
Mm,
your own sauce, like you could tell, like if you're making your own sauce with your own crushed tomatoes, you gotta let that cook, for like hours until it's like
yeah.
flat down. But I could taste everything. The acidity, the tomato. It's like maybe the tomato wasn't good in the first place. On top
Ooh.
of that, with the cheese being all boring, not there, very stale, and it's very difficult to mess up cheese, but it's possible. Overall, it was a huge disappointment, and I just had to vent that out the other day.
Oh
But
man. Oh,
it was
I'm
something that's
sorry.
more common in LA so far from the pizza I've had, where the sauce is the biggest disappointment, and the cheese for some reason doesn't know how to sit on it. But I do think that when people bring up, oh, it's the water in terms of how to use the dough, I
Could
don't
be the
think
water.
that's true.
You don't think so?
No, because you could filter water,
There's something different when it
but
comes to the NY water though, Bastion. You know
no,
that.
I understand that, but I do think if you have the recipe and you know how to deal with it, you could fix the issue. So, in my opinion, the breading has been pretty okay out here. It's just everything else takes a L because, in my opinion, they don't know what they're comparing it to. And if you live here long enough, if your store, which a lot of pizza shops say New York pizza on it, if you live in LA long enough, your taste will change naturally.
Of course.
Naturally, it's going to
I'm gonna
be
have
more Latin based compared to Caribbean, right? You live in Queens, Brooklyn, you're gonna eat
very
most
good.
Caribbean. You're out here, you're gonna eat mostly Latin food because it's in every corner. So,
That's fair.
so the way you taste tomatoes is going to shift, right?
More
So,
pico de gallo than anything.
exactly. So, what makes pizza a weird, and what makes New York weird about pizza is there's many cultures that live there. Since you have many tastes everywhere, so you know how you want your sauce to taste. You know how you want your cheese to taste. So I just had to bring it out there. All right, it's funny, it's interesting. The bagels kind of work the same way too. It's all
Got it.
misses out here, but it's good enough if you
Trial and
put
error.
uh different types of like scallion and cream cheese, it'll push away the taste. Just push through the bagel taste. It will
Mm.
never taste like New York City bagels. But
Well,
yeah.
it's all trial and error there, buddy. You're still trying to maneuver your way to throughout the eats, okay? Because you like the Asian food out there, you like the Latin food out there,
Hmm.
right? It's just I feel like different regions are have different strong suits. You know what I'm saying? And I think LA's their strong suits are the Asian based foods and the Latin foods. I know you brought up donuts. Have you ever been to Randy's Donuts? That's the big donut that you always see in the movies, wherever it takes place in LA. Have you been there yet?
No, I haven't. But just to explain, donuts work the same way as bagel shops. So like,
Hmm.
it's all subjective, and all of them are subjectively good.
Okay.
So you can say, "Oh, my bagel's over there." You go there, it's like it's still bagel. As long as it still tastes like a bagel, it's fine. I'm not gonna say it's better. It could be more consistently better. I believe in that. There's a spot my mom used to buy bagels at, and I had to tell her to stop buying it there because they keep bringing their bagels a little too flat.
Yeah, that those aren't good.
Exactly, and I prefer bagels that look like a belly button. It looks overfilled.
Yes,
This one
that's
looks straight
right.
up too much like a donut.
Yeah,
Hence,
it has the hole in the middle. Nah, that ain't it, B.
it's that's just preference. People do like those and prefer those styles, but if it's too crunchy, it's too flat, and it's consistently bad batches, it's like
Hmm.
they obviously put like cooked it wrong in the morning, and they just dealt with it for the rest of the day. So maybe a chef is
Ah,
missing, maybe they hire someone new, but it's been 3 months. Every time you bring bagels, it tastes like this. Place is done. That's it. It's
because
over.
Because ideally, when it comes to bagels, I know toasting it is a preference, but ideally, when they come out fresh, you don't want to toast them. You know what I mean? You can just eat them straight out, just like that. Put in the cream cheese, put whatever you need, and you good. The toasting is subjective, but if it comes out awful and you need to toast it, that's a bad bagel.
That I agree. I agree. The
Hmm.
freshness is the key. So if it's fresh, raisin bagel, it's already perfect. But
Yeah, man.
that's all I want to say on my endeavors of the New York City lifestyle quality check in a way that you just won't match in LA. But there are things in LA that New York City can never catch up to,
That's fair.
and that's fair. I do think Asian cuisine in New York City is really good. You just need to know someone and to tell you where the spots are. So if you
That's
need you
true.
like good Korean food, good Korean fried chicken, you need to ask like your Korean friends, like what's the spot, what's not it anymore, and what's the spot. Because I could tell you, that I felt like it changed every 3 years when I asked my friends like what's the spot. Oh, I went here. That's not it anymore. You gotta go here. So okay, see less.
Damn.
And
I
it's
hear you,
true.
man.
There's something changed within those 3 years. But yeah.
That happens with a lot with when it comes to food too. Whenever there's a new restaurant in town and people start going to it a lot and the food is just consistently good. I don't know, sometimes what happens is there's a change of staff, there's a change of owners, and then what the previous cooks used to do isn't what the new cooks do. And so there's just like this shift in how the food is made and how the food is prepped and how the food is even presented, and then people just stop going. I remember that happened to me recently when there was this new bakery that opened up near my job, and we would go every day because everything just hit from the tacos to the sandwiches to the empanadas. Everything just hit. And then one day the chef just they changed chefs, and then we just stopped going. The tacos were not tacoing
Mm-hmm.
anymore. The sandwiches weren't thick anymore. It was just down in quality, and we never went back since. It was heartbreaking, honestly. The food was cheap too. And then inflation came around, and we thought, all right, hey, it's all good. If the food is still banging, I'm gonna pay. But the food just it got worse, and I'm like, nah, that's one thing. I'm not gonna pay more for crappy food. We not doing that, and so we stopped going.
Hey, that's just the game, and
That's just
the
the way it
chefs the
is.
chefs really do pretty much control the game. If that head chef leaves, or maybe they spiked the food and made less batch, or it's just not as late as it used to be. And I do believe one bad dinner at, or maybe two consecutive bad dinners at a certain space makes you not want to go there anymore, and just like that, that's it. I can't go back any longer.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. It depends on the kind of food that you're eating and just the the overall streak that they have. You know, if they were consistent before and then they start falling off slowly, then yes, I never go back. When it comes to coffee, you only get one shot with me. You only get one shot with me when it comes to coffee, and you better make it right too. But here's the funny thing about coffee consumers: they will never let you know that you made them a crappy cup of coffee. They'll just never come back again.
I believe it.
So if I yeah, so if I ask you to make me a cortado, the cortado is always the litmus test when it comes to me personally, because not everyone can make a proper cortado. I'll just say that. So that's the proper litmus test. If you can make a proper cortado, I'm gonna come back. Even if your coffee's pretentious and it's expensive, if you can make that properly, I would come back. But if I ask for a cortado and you give me a cappuccino or you just give me a goddamn latte, I'm not coming back, bro. And you mess up the cup too? You give me the wrong cup? Nah, I'm not coming back.
Not everybody knows, but I
Not
definitely
everyone
understand.
knows, man. Yeah, man. I think we should get into song of the week real quick, and then we'll come back and I gotta ask you more LA stuff, man. I gotta ask you about what's going on in LA. I've been heartbroken for the past 2 weeks because I thought we had more unity in LA, and from all the TV that I'll be watching about LA, and it seems like I'm wrong, and all the music that I'll be listening to, there's more black and brown unity in LA. But holy crap, I was wrong. I was very, very wrong, and this kind of hurts my soul because you always tell me, Bashtin, that hey, Geo, you're more LA than I am. You're more West Coast than I am. You know all the West Coast artists. You know all the damn West Coast shows. You love On My Block. I do love On My Block. I do love YG. I do love Sad Boy Loco. I love all that stuff. And for the fact that this crap came, it was bad, Bashtin, when something from the West Coast came directly all the way to all of us here in the East Coast and it made national news. It was bad.
Yeah,
It was awful.
word.
And so Bastion is going to game me on LA politics and how it really is in LA because he's been here for a while now. So he's going to show me the way. And when we come back, it's still Spooktober. So we got a lot more to get into. Here is Conway the Machine with, of course, Uncle Al. Here's Piano Love. Thank you all so much once again for tuning in to Black Seinfeld, show about nothing. Conway the Machine, Uncle Al, The Alchemist. That was Piano Love off of Conway's album that came out earlier in the year, February 2022. God Don't Make Mistakes, one of my favorite rap albums of the year. Bashin, your thoughts on this track?
Always on point. That's all I gotta say. It's always on point. I don't know. I do feel like there's a place and time for this type of music. It could be midday, or like on your way home from work, or very late night. But sometimes it's very hard to listen to.
That is true. That's why I wanted to play it now because I felt like it was appropriate to play this. It's 12:33 right here in the NYC. It's
Perfect.
late night. It's getting really cool here. I don't know if you know this, Bastion. It's we're in the thick of the fall weather right now. It's 51 degrees. It's very brisk. We got that apple crisp weather early in the morning. You know how that goes, where you got all the fog on the cars. It's we're getting to that level of fall just for this week because next week it's going to go back up to the 70s. I have a feeling people are going to get sick again, but that's another discussion for another day.
Are
But
people
the
getting
point
sick like regular colds again?
not yet. I
Okay.
haven't seen anyone
It's,
with a regular
it's
cold yet.
happening out here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the regular colds, allegedly.
Okay.
But
Nah,
it was
over
like
here, people are
pretty
still wearing
dusk
the mask.
for a week in my area for a minute. So, but yeah,
Nah,
you know how
over,
Los Angeles is. It's getting a little shaky. If
bruh.
you hear the news on your side,
Oh my God.
I have
What?
to know about it myself too.
Yeah, man. LA, man, y'all have been in the news a lot lately for political reasons, entertainment reasons, rapper reasons. Y'all
Housing.
just housing reasons. Y'all have just been. Oh, and later on today, I'm gonna school Bastion on one of the most infamous hotels over in LA that you should never ever want to go into. But hey, by no means are we dumping on LA at all, especially not Bashtin because he lives there, not me, but I'm not dumping on LA. You know, I respect LA. We love you, LA. There's people that listen to us that live in LA. So there's no LA bashing going on here, okay? I just want to preference by saying this. This is just someone who's interested in learning more about the LA culture because I have a really good friend over there that's living there. He's a New Yorker, so he's coming with a New York perspective, and he's now in LA for a couple of months. He's been there. He hasn't even been here for a year yet, okay? So his ideas are still new and fresh, you know what I mean? So, that's the only reason why I bug him about this because he's the only person that I know that lives in Los Angeles. I have other people that live in Cali, but they don't live in LA. Bastion lives in LA.
True, true. So what I
And
could
this
do,
is the black perspective of LA because I know white people that live in LA, but that's the white experience. I'm talking about the black experience. It's different.
I definitely don't have the full black on experience. Yeah, I don't live in a very like I said before, a couple of weeks ago, the area I'm in, it's very uh foreign based. A lot of people not really from LA and where I live. People are there mostly for work or school. So I could give like a quick summary, and from there we'll discuss more on what's happening. So,
Yes.
so earlier this month, an anonymous Reddit account posted an audio recording of a meeting with several Los Angeles City Council members. The people of this meeting are City Council President Nero Martinez and two other council members, Kevin DeLeo and Gil Cedillo. And also there was the LA Labor Federation President Ron Herrera discussing a wide range of topics. And the thing what's important about this audio clipping, it takes place over about a year ago, last October. And
Oh shoot.
and these conversations is what kind of sparked uh and I think it's well necessary outrage on what's going on in the Los Angeles City Council members. Now, as Gio said, I am a New Yorker. I have been living here in less for a year, so I haven't really dived into local politics besides on housing, because I look at housing, the median range of houses is roughly $800,000. Hence, because of that, that's why there's a homeless problem. So that's what I know. That's what I'm looking into. And I don't really believe local government, especially in large cities like this, will prepare themselves unless they become very progressive in order for these to fix these situations. Now, what was said in the recordings that got people very very upset is what the president was saying about uh, the discussions they were having. One of the discussions is about like redrawing the council district lines to focus to get more Latino representations and to weed out other progressive council members there too, so they won't come back for the next election. That was spoke about. And the thing is, this audio is like roughly 1 hour long. I think there's another audio too, if I recall. Uh, they were talking about other council people. Um, they there's I'm trying to find his name. I wrote it in my notes real quick. One of the council members, he has a 2-year-old black son, and during I think it was during the February, they had like this float, and the young boy was running around, and she was saying disrespectful things like how I would like take the kid, I will beat the kid, and because he was acting strange, he was acting like like a 2-year-old kid, but she was saying very rude things and calling the child like a monkey.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just kind of some background on some of the things that were said during this recording, and
Yes.
just talking a lot about the locals, talking this very bad and very insensitive stuff about like native people in Mexico as well, indigenous Mexicans. It was just like I said, it's like an over hour long. I did listen to a few clips based on what other media outlet has put there and kind of chipped and kind of chopped up. But this is what a lot of people were discussing. There was a lot of protests. Every time they had a city council meeting, especially for the first 2 hours, they were very focused on discussing why are they still there. They should all resign and get out. Nura Martinez did resign as being the president, but I think she's still in the
Right.
council, and everybody else is still in the council because, as they said, they have a lot of work to do.
Right. Well, the president did resign, but she didn't apologize. I don't know if you read what she said in her resignation. She hoped that, she inspired all the little Latinas to reach the levels that she has done in politics, but she didn't explicitly apologize for her actions and what she said. So, uh I will say this: on one hand, I respect the gangster for not apologizing and standing 10 toes down on what you believe in, although it's very overtly racist. I respect it. So we know who you are. We know how you get down. We know how you feel about other people that are different from you, and you look down on, you said it was
Makes sense, yeah.
indigenous Mexicans as well. So we see how you look down on even your own people. You know what I mean? So I think I appreciate the fact that you did not apologize and you went, but you going down this route and hoping little Latina girls are going to be like you. Yeah, I don't think you should have said that because that makes you look weird.
Well, it's
That's
not
just
even weird. It's ego. It's
very
pretty. If anything,
egotistical.
I don't even think it's weird. As you said, you respect the gangster. You respect that she didn't apologize because she knows she's racist, and she just kind of went on with it and to talk about what the community is doing, right? And I think I spoke about this when we were discussing Texas, how many Latin X people are more likely to be conservative now in this day and age because conservative principles, which is money, God, and land, fits more to their principles.
Hmm.
And it's always their principles too, but now it really, really fits to their principles. Hence, it's more likely they will uh, focus on or be part of like this either very heavily neoliberal or at least center conservative perspective. So they will vote. Even if they do run, they will most likely have the same things in common as those parties rather than like the Democrat Party or a progressive person.
Mm, mm, okay. And I'd like to know what people are trying to do to have these people that are part of council removed from council. Is there anything that can be done, or they just have to resign on their own free will?
It's almost like getting impeached like a president. It's really
Mm,
difficult to remove someone from council, especially. But the most you could do is what most council people do is remove what they're doing. So if they're in charge of certain things, is to remove their roles. So that's the most that they could do. But these representatives have been there for a while, and they do have their own base that still would vote for them and still protect them as well. So it is very difficult, especially these current districts. They want to keep the same type of energy as someone
mm,
that's going to replace them. It's not like they want to up and leave and then they get replaced by a progressive person that's counterintuitive to the party. So for them not to resign immediately is an understanding. It's like, hey, you can't resign until we find someone to replace you. Like you that, or if you run in this day and age, you could be a very bad person and still run, as we see, um, like Walker that's running for senator. In terms of now, if they don't resign, they could probably still win, but they're just waiting for someone to replace them. So the most you could do is remove certain roles. That's pretty much all you could do.
do you know in which neighborhoods they're trying to redline?
Not in particular. Like I said, Los Angeles is a very, very big city. It's not as easily cut up like New York City, where it's like five boroughs, and then within the boroughs it's cut up in like 6 to 10 districts.
Right, you're not on islands. You're actually on land, and it's huge.
And yeah, land, it's huge. There's a lot of space, and I'm understanding more of it because, like I said earlier, I'm really interested in how the housing market works in Los Angeles because they recently added a rule where now these districts can no longer gatekeep. I'll use the word gatekeep
Mm,
constructions of certain buildings. And that's kind of what, especially like neoliberals or very conservative parties, are trying to prevent. But it's kind of too late now. So now it's very easy to build like multiple apartment units in a single housing area compared to what it was like 2 years ago, where if you say, "Hey, we need to build more houses here," they'll say, "Yeah, put it through, and we'll approve it, or we'll discuss it, and then it will just never pass approval. It won't go anywhere." So
Mm.
this says a lot about like what's going on, like what is the community's focus. There is a
Mm.
lot of racism within each community, just like in everything. A lot of colorism, and some people do see themselves just like above even their own people. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of classism and a lot of racism within the council. And this is kind of this audio, and I do recommend listeners to go check it out, to see how they speak about certain people. It's very telling because they're not speaking for themselves; they're speaking for the voters, the
Right.
people that
And
voted them, or within their own community.
and I know I sound ignorant by saying, "Oh, I didn't know this is happening in LA," but of course, this is Los Angeles. It's notorious for a lot of riots that broke out due to racial tensions. Of course, you can never forget the 92 riots that happened due to the beating of Rodney King. I also do know about the tension between black people and the Koreans for that's been a thing for a while. But I honestly never knew about the tensions between the black and the brown people, the black people and the Mexicans. I didn't know this.
That's I'm kind of surprised that you didn't know this. There's a lot of
Yeah.
reports. I think New York Times recently wrote something how like 70% of like this like racism in the workplace, especially in California, dealt from Latin people. So it's it's not
I
like we're
didn't
in
know
it
this.
together. And I constantly talk about like conservatism, especially dealing with like people that talk with white supremacist talking points, land, money, and you know, and
Mm-hmm.
religion. Is that what I said before? Is the land? It's was it land
Money, land,
and
and yeah, and God.
and God. So those are like the three things that is I was like land, family, and God. That's what it is. My fault.
Yeah,
Not
good.
money, but land is money. So to equate the two, so it's land, family, and God.
Family and God.
Those are conservative values. Those are also white supremacist values as well. You know, that's why you keep the nation white. You can breed with each other. No abortions. That's why they want abortions to be legal. Hence, they can increase white population. Da da da. Like all that stuff really matters. So when people repeat it, I think it's important to say these are the guidelines that people believe in. You know, Hotep people believe in those same guidelines, in my opinion, because
Of
they say the
course.
same things. Like, dude, you know what you're saying? It's like it's all white supremacy. So yeah, there is conflict between the two because they don't see eye to eye on many issues. And housing, homelessness, just based off that, in my opinion, you could tell a lot on how they feel based on just homelessness dealing within Los Angeles because it's really bad out here. It's
Especially
really bad.
downtown LA.
No, everywhere. It's,
Oh,
yeah,
now it's
downtown. Yeah,
everywhere.
downtown's pretty bad too.
Yeah, I've heard about downtown. I heard how we gotta get down in downtown. It's different from a lot of other cities when you think of going downtown, because downtown is normally like the city area. It's like it's pretty much like an epicenter, right? It's
Yeah,
not like when you go to downtown Brooklyn or you go downtown in the city. Downtown LA, I heard about downtown LA, right?
yeah.
Like I heard it goes down over there.
I've been there, so it's like designed like New York City. Like some spots are real nice, some spots just like designed for spotlight,
Yeah.
and other spots you just cannot ignore. About like a lot of homeless encampments are out there, and I wish I could tell you more details about LA. I think as I do more research and stay around and try to connect with the different communities, I'll probably have a lot more to say. I always try to tell you too. It's like the area I'm in is not a good area to sense out locals. Like
Mm,
where I am right now is not a good area to understand how the city feels about things. Maybe in the future I'll probably get closer to downtown LA. You
be
know,
careful.
no, it's not. Be careful. It's
No,
fine.
be, It's
it
fine, but also be aware of your surroundings. That's all, man. Be careful.
no. So you could say be careful the same way about like understanding how Brooklyn is. It's like, yeah, there's
Right. That's
times
fair.
not to be outside, but there's also like it's regular outside. To
Right.
create the
That's fair.
fear is just in your mind because there's nothing scary out there because you're not hot. You're not involved with any of the things going on. Hence, you're not going to be involved, right? Unless you're born and raised there, then it could be hot for you.
Right. That's
So
all. But
no,
I'm just saying
but
it's good to be safe.
no.
That's
So
it.
I'm
There you go.
the way I'm trying to explain to you is like it's also a sense of ignorance as well because of what you think from the outside, and it's not your fault. But like now being here and like reading reports and understanding how it is on a local level, the same way when I went to San Francisco, right? And one of
Yeah.
my good friends, he had friends out there in San Francisco said, "Oh, I would like to go across the bridge and check out like the town next over." And they said, "No, you shouldn't go there. It's dangerous out there." And it's like, how is it dangerous? That's just how they feel. They use their fear to explain to me how Oakland is dangerous and I shouldn't go.
Oh, what? Hell no. I definitely go to Oakland. What?
That's
That's
dude.
disrespectful.
And these are people that live in San Francisco telling me I should not go to Oakland.
I would love to go to Oak. That's
When I
much
came
history
back to
down
New
there.
York, everybody said, "Why did he go to Oakland?" I said, "Nah, I was told it was dangerous." Like, by who? I go to Oakland
Right.
all the time. So that's what I'm trying to say. There's a fear in the sense if you don't know, you don't know. You shouldn't be in certain neighborhoods. Yes, that's obvious, but it's not like, oh, you can go downtown be fear. It's like, no, like no one's gonna sell you. You're not gonna buy an apartment if it doesn't
Yeah,
make
no,
sense
of
to stay
course
there.
not, man. But I heard about Skid Row, all right, and I'm saying that's all I'm
Skid Row
saying.
is a very long street, but the place
Is it?
where it happens is very small.
That is true, but it is downtown.
No,
And
okay, yeah, it is downtown, but look at it as like the Diamond District in Manhattan, and that's it. That's Skid Row. That's the Skid Row that people are fear of. Just the Diamond District, which is one long street, and that's it. What you're doing on that street, you could pass it and not be involved in that street whatsoever. Same thing
right,
as Tenderloin in San Francisco. Is the
there's
most
no
dangerous,
tents in the Diamond District.
huh?
There's no tents in the
You're
Diamond
not listening
District
to what I'm
though.
saying. I'm saying look at the distance in the Diamond District. It's
Right,
a long block, right?
right,
It's like the sun's blocking it because there's no
right.
sunlight in that area, but it's easily avoidable if you go to the next street.
Okay.
That's how I'm trying to describe Skid Row. It's not like this whole massive area where it's a radius of like 10 miles, and if you walk there, it's dangerous. That's not how it
Oh,
works.
okay. Well, I guess the documentary lied to me that I'm gonna talk to you about then. So cool.
It's like there is a problem, but it's
Mhm.
it's pretty much cut off into like very easy to avoid. Like you have no reason to be down there, and most likely
I
you're
don't know.
not living there either.
I don't know, Bastion, because certain travelers would go to downtown LA to sort of save money to when they're traveling. Some people do go to downtown LA. In fact, there is a very famous hotel, a very infamous hotel that is downtown LA that people use as a sort of travelers hotel, and a lot of infamous has gone down there, Bastion. So have you ever heard about the Cecil Hotel?
Nah, what is that?
Well, we're going to talk to you about the Cecil Hotel, Bastion, one of the most infamous hotels in the United States, in LA, and it is located in downtown Los Angeles. So let's talk about it, my guy. This is what we're going to talk about for Spooktober. It was going to be about the Stockton killer, but he did get caught. He wasn't linked to anything in Chicago, and we still have to learn more about him. And he is black, by the way, so I guess we finally have one of our first black serial killers. But anyways, let's talk about the Cecil Hotel, Bastion. I have notes, my bad. I don't have this creepy music. I should have gotten the creepy music,
You could
but
play the one I played last week.
nah, man, not that one. It's good, but it's more it's more extraterrestrial. It's more sci-fi. It's not more run for your life. This person's about to slit your throat.
Yeah.
That's what I was kind of going for, but that's how I roll when it comes to my.
So we're speaking about downtown LA, and you
We're
want
speaking specifically about the Cecil Hotel an infamous hotel in Los Angeles, located in downtown LA, which was handcrafted back in 1919, during the time where in the West Coast, it was very popular in the West Coast. It was booming in the West Coast. Business was booming because everyone was moving to the West Coast. So there was a lot of life being put into downtown, being put into Los Angeles. And that was when, downtown was the epicenter of everything, Bashtin, in 1919. And then the Cecil Hotel will fully get built in 1924. And it took about $1 million to make, which is a lot of money back then. Of course, this is 1924 after all. This hotel is constructed of 700 rooms, which isn't and by no means was it meant to be like a luxurious 5-star type of thing, but it was a cheap stay hotel meant for travelers. So think of it like a hostel. You know what I mean? Every room was dirt cheap. There was community bathrooms where you can go ahead and shower and stuff like that. The only thing you would really have is sort of like a powder room, so just like a sink and a toilet. But they had community bathrooms at the end of the hall. And when things started getting awry was during the Great Depression. You know what I'm saying? And when the Great Depression happened, it affected downtown severely. You know what I'm saying? A lot of businesses went out, and because there was no businesses and inflation was crazy and people were starving, um, people, it started to become more of a bit of a wasteland. You know what I mean? Due to the suffrage of the Great Depression. And it wasn't as bustling as it once was when it was first cultivated in the early 1910s. And in the 30s, the hotel was on its last legs and becomes this hub where older gentlemen just really needed a place to stay within downtown. And they were just willing to spend as little money as possible, um, as little as like $1 a night to spend the night at the Cecil Hotel. And as the decades progressed, downtown never really recovered to what they wanted it to be, and it became a place where a lot of junkies and would just have rooms over there. A lot of junkies, a lot of prostitutes. And I remember during the early 70s of LA, LA came out with this policy called the policy of containment, which was basically sending people within the area, such as junkies or people who just came out of prison or people who came out of mental facilities within that one region of downtown LA. So basically, they just decided, hey, instead of having all of these people just spread out within LA, why don't we send all of these people with that are suffering with poverty, suffering with mental issues, and suffering with all these drug addictions and stuff like that into this one pocket of LA, being downtown LA. That was the policy of containment, was to just have these people contain the undesirables, if you will, in this one pocket of LA and let them run wild. And because people are poor, they have nothing else to do. They're mentally unstable. What do you think happened around downtown LA? What do you think happened around the Cecil Hotel, Bashtin? A lot of crime started happening around the Cecil Hotel. So there's a lot of killings that happened in Cecil Hotel. There's a lot of drug addicts. It felt very unsafe in downtown LA, but in the Cecil Hotel as well. And not to mention all of the suicides and the overdoses that would happen as early as the 30s. And I remember there was this one particular story where a woman decided to commit suicide and jump out of the window in 1962 because she was married with this abusive husband and she just couldn't take it anymore. And so she just decided to just jump out of the window. And unfortunately, there was a gentleman walking, and I don't know if you know this,
Physics.
if because of physics, that man didn't make it either because she fell on top of him. So a lot of if the Cecil started to get this reputation of being hotel death. This is known as a place where people come to die, really, or things come to die, or your hopes come to die. Um, there is uh there's a living sort of tenant situation there as well because of how cheap it is, and because people, there's some people who of course in downtown LA that may not have best background checks, or that can't pass the background checks, or don't have a proper deposit, or maybe running away from certain things or certain people, or law enforcement. The Cecil became that easy place for people to just live because of just how cheap it is. And so it was home to a lot of interesting characters and a lot of suspicious characters, because people actually lived out of the hotel. That's how cheap it was. People would pay $400 a month just to live there. You know what I mean? And I don't know if you know this, Bashtin, but one of the most infamous serial killers used to live at the Cecil Hotel. Have you heard of Richard Ramirez?
No, I have not.
He is the Night Stalker, Bashtin. Have you heard of the Night Stalker?
No, I'm unfamiliar with the Night Stalker.
So the Night Stalker, he was killing throughout LA throughout the summer of '82, right? He was infamous for killing women, children, the elderly. He would go into their homes and freaking decapitate people. He would mutilate, he would gouge out their eyes, he would leave pentagrams on their homes. He was so brutal that people in LA was very fearful for their lives and very fearful for their houses. And this person was killing children, after all, elderly people, killing women. So during that time, women wanted to learn how to defend themselves, how to shoot with a gun. A lot of people started buying locks, you know what I mean? And Richard Ramirez was a tenant, or he lived at the Cecil Hotel, and there were stories of how, after a day of crime, after a day of murder, this dude would just be kicking it at the Cecil. He would take off his shirt, his boxers would be full of blood, and he would just be smoking, going to his room, chilling. Now, did they catch him at the Cecil Hotel? No, they caught him because a community found his picture, and so he had nowhere to run, and everyone started beating his ass. But this is the sort of place that was carried throughout the lineage of the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, California. What are your thoughts so far?
It's very creepy.
It is very creepy, and it gets that creepy reputation, because I'm not even done.
Oh,
I'm not even. Yeah, it gets worse. Okay. So again, it is located in downtown LA, and like as soon as you make a couple of corners, you are in Skid Row, right? You're part of Skid Row, because that part of downtown LA doesn't really look like it's that developed yet, unfortunately. And so there was this mysterious case of a woman who disappeared actually 10 years ago. There's a Netflix documentary about it, right? Her name was Elisa Lam, right? And she was a traveler from Canada who wanted to visit California. So she went to San Diego, and from San Diego, San Francisco, from San Francisco, she came here to LA. She came to stay at the Cecil, right? And one day she mysteriously just vanished, right? And the reason why I bring what I brought up, especially like the Skid Row stuff and all that, because if she just vanished out of nowhere, right? It's easy to be lost in LA, and it's easy to walk around, especially where she was. And it's easy. A lot of people, well, police officer thought like, okay, what could have happened to her? She maybe could have hit like a wrong turn, and something could have happened to her around Skid Row, because she's not familiar with the area. That happens a lot when it comes to tourists. Sometimes tourists don't really know where they're going. Sometimes it's easy to get lost if they don't plan ahead or anything like that, because they want to see the city, which is fine. It's not their fault, but it's also good to understand where you are at all times. A lot of people thought that maybe one of the tenants probably freaking caught her and pulled her back into their rooms and sort of murdered her. That was another instance of what people thought could have happened. And police was really at a dead end until they released one of the last sightings that they had of her, right? And it was this 4-minute video of her trying to get on this elevator, right? So she goes on this elevator and she looks fine, right? She looks fine. And when she gets on the elevator, she presses every button. She pressed for some reason, she presses every button in the elevator. And she jumps out, she looks to her left, she looks to her right, and she jumps back in. And then she starts standing by the edge of the walls, and it seems like she's sort of hiding from someone. And then meanwhile the elevator door is still open. For whatever reason, the door hasn't shut. So she steps back out, and now like her hand is contorting, and she's sort of grabbing just the air, and then she's gone. That's the last video that's the last video of her before she vanished. And so people had all these theories, and the cops released that tape of the last time they saw her. And so a lot of people on the internet decided to help out and stuff. And you'll never guess where they found her, Bash. They found her upstairs on the roof. There's like the septic tank full of water where, they get.
I heard this story.
Yeah, yeah. That was at the Cecil Hotel, damn it.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Happy Spooktober, Bashtin. But yeah, they found her at the septic tank where they have gallons of water that people use to, bathe, brush your teeth. And the big thing people thought initially was that the hatch for the tank was closed, but it wasn't. It was open. It was open. And so now it became a huge mystery of how did this person get into this tank? How did this person get into the septic tank, right? And became a whole thing of people on the internet trying to accuse people, which is sort of like the dangers of internet sleuthing at times, and trying to put it in the hands of the internet to try and sort of solve this mystery. Sometimes I think personally you should wait till like the private investigators try and like get everything together, because what happens is internet sleuths, they try to accuse just people.
I think the best example is the bombing in Boston a couple years ago.
Yes, absolutely.
The FBI had to come out every time they point a picture and say, "This is the person. Watch out for this person." They said, "Yo, stop." this person did nothing. Stop.
Exactly. And that's exactly what internet sleuths did, because a lot of people thought that someone was holding the elevator door open, that she was talking to someone that might have been outside of the elevator. They accused someone of just that created a YouTube video of being at the Cecil Hotel at the time where Lisa was vanished, that he had something to do with it when he didn't at all. And what it does is sort of, it ruins people's lives. And I don't think people from the internet don't truly understand when you try to accuse someone of doing something but with no evidence at all, you're just like pulling stuff from the air. I don't think people understand the damage that it does to people, and what it can do to people, and how they can mentally probably not even recover from that, without a and a lot of the times what happens is the case will get solved, but that person will never get an apology, nothing. People just leave it alone and go on to the next one, right? But I'm going to tell you how they solved the case. Apparently, prior to her disappearance, in that hotel, you can have roommates, or you can have a room to yourself. She decided to have roommates to save extra money, of course, because again, it's a traveler's hotel. So think of it like a European hostel.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Think of it like that. And so apparently the roommates that she was with said that she was having a bit of erratic behavior. What people didn't know, that she was mentally ill. She had paranoia, she was schizophrenic, and she was bipolar. She didn't take her medicine that day. And so what happened was like, her brain was just it wasn't working properly. So that's what the video was on the elevator. And the reason why the elevator wasn't closing was just because I don't know if you've ever been in one of those elevators that take a while for it to close, and when it closes really fast.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever been on that kind of elevator. That was the elevator. That was the kind of elevator that she went on. The room that she was moved to, she had a room to herself, and there was a fire escape in her room. So they believe that she went up to the fire escape after that video in her room, and she just fell into the septic tank because the septic tank was open. People thought that they found her in the tank where the hatch was closed, but no, the hatch was open. And so that's what also created this huge mystery, because they never disclosed that the hatch was open, people people thought that the hatch was closed. And since the hatch was closed, someone obviously did this to her. Someone drowned her in that septic tank.
Interesting.
So that's what happened to Elisa Lam, and that's one of the latest scandals, and that happened around 10 years ago. So rest in peace to her. Um, the Cecil, they're trying to change up their image of the dark things that happened in the past, whether it's a murderer that lived around there, or an R word that lived around there too, that would take women back to his room and like just R word at least 20 women, and he was arrested at the hotel. That was another thing. There was so many deaths that occur in the hotel. I don't know if they still happen now, but at least I remember they had the manager on the documentary, and she's like, "Yo, I've been the manager. I was the manager for 10 years. At least 80 people throughout my tenure died in the hotel.
Oof.
80 people. Yeah, yeah."
That's a real creepy building to still exist
And it
to this
still
day.
exists to this day, and they're trying to do different things to sort of change the way in the perceptions of the prior history that it has. They're trying to modernize the place. There's trying to modernize the place. I'll just say that they're trying to modernize the place, and it's still there to this day. And a lot of ghost hunters like going there. I don't really like that crap. That's just me. I don't look down upon it, but I'm not a fan of that. That's just weird. They want to go and like make contact with Richard Ramirez at his room that he used to stay in. I
That
think it's
doesn't work.
Yeah, I think it's weird.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, man, that is the Cecil Hotel, right in your backyard of LA. Uh, don't go there. But if you want to see the outside of it,
Yeah.
you can. If you want to see the inside, Bastion, if you go in, it's actually very grand. It looks very beautiful from the lobby. It's just when you go all the way up, because again, it's 700 rooms in there, so it's a big ass hotel. It's
Yeah.
it's taking up like a good block of the street. Okay, the further up you get, like the worse it got. Right, that's where like it was pretty lawless when it went up to like the 16th floor. That's when there were stories of people just getting thrown out the window, and one of my big fears. I don't know if I've ever said this, right? Especially with this stuff. I always talked about a fear when it comes to like the occult, and more so of like satanic stuff like that. Real fear of that, because and spirits and all that, because when you're in the Caribbean, I don't know, I feel like everyone at least once have seen some crap they cannot explain. I don't know if you've ever experienced that when you're in the Caribbean.
Not me, but I do have like relatives and cousins that I
Yeah.
discussed.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Luckily for me, I didn't go through any of that.
Bless your soul, and may you never have to endure any of that.
But I do know
Right?
stories. Yeah.
Yeah. The other fear is hotels. Because you never know, especially hotel hallways, right? Like if a hotel hallway is sketching me, that's an instant fear off rip, because you never know, like anyone could just pop out and just like grab you into the room. I have fears about that. Also because The Shining too, one of the greatest movies ever made. The Shining, which is like about the haunted hotel, and Jack Nicholson goes crazy and like kills his family or tries to kill his family. That's just one of my favorite horror movies. But yes, that's a real fear when it comes to me and hotels. I don't play when it comes to hotels. I want to make sure, did anyone die in this hotel? I want to know everything about this damn room that I'm getting, or just about the hotel in general, because I don't play that, bro. Because about in the Cecil, at least everyone there's out of 700 rooms, at least 80% of people have died in those rooms. So you know what I'm saying? It's something to think about.
Sheesh. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
welcome to LA, man. Yeah. What are your thoughts on this tale of the Cecil Hotel? It's still available to this day. If y'all want to go, don't go, but
Yeah, it's
do
called
some
Stay
do some
Hotel
Google
now.
search.
Um,
Yes.
it's not too far away from me by car.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not really too far from downtown. In terms of like maybe it was just a coincidence where that hotel just became the epicenter of certain things. It could be bad energy, or it could be one of those things where you bring up an idea, it's like, oh, this place was pretty bad. You most likely will go there to do either bad things or to do things to yourself. So for them
Hmm.
to try to change how they were known for the past couple
Yes.
years and well, a couple
Decade,
decades and
century, maybe.
a couple decades and just have this bad like taste of the hotel. It's kind of up to them to either close down the business, but
Hmm.
modernizing it most likely. Most of the reason people go there is
Because of the reputation,
because of
which
the
makes
history.
it
Yeah,
exactly, and that's what. And see, I'd like to trace it back all the way to that first episode we did this October when I talked about the Dahmer documentary and why people are so fascinated and why that was at for a couple of weeks the most popular show, American show to come out of Netflix. It's because we like to know about the infamous because that intrigues us, right? Knowing the history of someone or something or this this hotel that's home to a lot of just the most deplorable things that intrigues us as people. For some reason, we're attracted to that.
yeah. I do think it's kind of normal. But some, I think it's normal if you are not connected to it whatsoever,
Mm.
right? So, Jeffrey Dahmer, what city was it?
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
So Milwaukee, people from Milwaukee, especially from that time, they don't want to connect with it whatsoever.
Absolutely not.
But Milwaukee is just like one small city in the United States, so
Exactly.
everybody else doesn't have that same deep connection to it. They just hearsay, or they heard
Hmm.
about it. Hence, of course, like, oh, let me check out this show. It's not a problem. And like you said, we discussed this the first episode in October,
Yeah,
and
and he had fans too.
he had fans, and that's the psychotic, creepy part of it. But famous, infamous, famous, like as long as your name is there and you're well known, that's how it is.
Exactly. And sometimes we as American society, we sort of we promote that, unfortunately, and I said it the same time 2 weeks ago. We do the same things when it comes to mob movies, right? We do it when it comes to serial killers. We do it with a lot of stuff that maybe shouldn't be promoted and shouldn't be praised or um but on the other hand, I think also this is history, right? And I think it's important for people to know what goes on, and it's important to understand what people are capable of
Yeah, especially
too.
the people that live local to said places like the Cecil
Yeah,
Hotel.
yeah, like you, Bastion, you're close from there.
Yeah, it's like 2 towns over, but it's not like I'm ever going to be there.
Yeah, don't ever go there, bro.
Yeah.
Don't ever go there. Don't recommend any of your friends going there
The
either.
thing is, like, it's far away from everything, so
Hmm.
I do think if you're there, it's uh it's just because you're doing things locally in that area. Well, in this
You're just
day and
trying to
age,
save money.
yeah, with the whole Airbnb market being very expensive and hotels are very expensive as well.
Yeah, they are.
So,
It's a place where you can save a lot of money too. So
so the thing is like another thing. I won't be super dismissive saying not to go. It's just your experience is going to be your experience.
right, that's fair. That's fair too.
It won't. It's not like you're gonna go there. It's like, oh, every single week something bad happens. Probably nothing as bad has happened in like the past like 5 years. Nothing
I've
bad.
not done the research,
And,
so I don't know.
yeah, exactly. So that'd be
I
funny.
don't.
That'd be funny. Like, nothing as bad happened in 5 years. Like all this stuff happens
Oh, word, man.
sporadically.
Pull up.
Yeah,
Okay,
like we're
word,
trying
pull
to
up.
change up and everything. But
Let me know if you encounter any spirits or anything, because that is a thing too. Again, people try and do ghost hunts over there. So,
yeah. So uh,
so
let's get into the last song.
sure. Yeah, I
Uh,
think this is an appropriate song.
Yes.
The Jacksons. This is the Place Hotel. This Place Hotel, aka Heartbreak Hotel. And when we come back, we're gonna talk a little bit of music, maybe a little bit of Cartoon Network, the merger. Maybe I don't know, but I need to drink some water. We'll be right back. Thank you all so much again for tuning into 99.5 FM, WBAI New York, WBAI.org for all of our people tuning in on the web. A shout out to all of our Black Seinfeld fans. Thanks for the support. Again, hit us up, blackseinfeldny@gmail.com. Tell me what you think about the episode today. I'm dying to know. No pun intended. Okay, we'll be back. That was This Place Hotel, aka Heartbreak Hotel, from the 1980s album The Jacksons' Triumph. Great album. Welcome back to Black Seinfeld, the show about nothing. How you feeling, Bashtin? You okay? You good?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Okay, I didn't spook you too much, did I?
No.
Okay, great. It's not like last week, which I kept getting a lot of compliments about with the haunted hotels, the haunted houses.
Yeah, we try to build the concepts, but this one is straight up a haunted
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
Not even haunted, maybe just bad energy.
Bad energy. Definitely bad energy. You know what else is bad energy, Bastion? Well, maybe for you, at least, this big merger that happened, one of the biggest mergers that happened this year, which is Warner and Discovery. And with the new Warner Discovery, where Discovery basically bought out Warner, and that includes everything that's within the Warner property, such as HBO, Cartoon Network,
Well,
DC.
before you get there, I actually did write something,
Oh, you
just
did.
kind of
Sorry.
describing because I think for the past couple of weeks we talk about it and we allude to it a little bit, and then we kind of like just kind of move on to the next subject because more news has come out about
Yeah, and it
certain
hurts you
things.
more.
Yeah.
It hurts you more than it does me.
Yeah, and I am very interested in this situation because this reflects a lot more on Hollywood and the changes that's been happening. I forgot what rule they removed a while ago, but now most of these companies are merging together because they no longer have this kind of separation law. Like there's supposed to be laws to make sure companies like this, especially entertainment businesses, don't just go around owning everything, every single
Right.
IP. So one thing I was doing a little research on Warner Brothers, and ironic, and okay, let me just kind of go on. Warner Brothers was created like back in like 1920s, and it was
Yes.
discovered by four brothers: Harry, Albert, Sam, and Jack Warner. And
The Warner Brothers.
and from there they've been focusing on different distributions from like motion pictures, publishing, music recordings, television, video games, and the IPs that you were just naming. They own pretty much a lot from like DC, Middle Earth, Hanna-Barbera, which I'm
Yep.
surprised they haven't done much with in a while. It's just kind of
Boomerang.
just chilling.
Boomerang.
Looney Tunes, Scooby Doo,
Right.
Tom and
Uh-huh.
Jerry, Wizarding World, even
Hmm.
the Flintstones they still own some rights with. Uh,
Isn't that Hanna-Barbera as well?
no, well, yes and no. It's like it's from there, but it's a separate entity, so
Ah,
they could
okay,
do
got
more
it.
stuff with it. And even Game of Thrones, which they're trying to expand even probably as big as the Wizarding World
Yes.
because it pretty much Westeros is built into its own type of thing, which is pretty
Right. It has its
interesting.
own factions and stuff like that.
So AOL actually bought Warner Brothers
Yes, back in around 2000,
in
2001.
2001.
Yes,
And
I
it's weird
remember
because
this.
AOL kind of fell off after they bought it during
Right. That
the .com bubble popped.
right. That was when AOL was everywhere. It was the internet of choice. And the reason why I remember this so clearly is because when Ted sold it, Ted Turner sold Time Warner to AOL, there was a WCW, which was the alternative to Vince McMahon and the WWF. And when that was sold over, they got rid of WCW, and so that's why WWF, now WWE, was like one of the only major wrestling promotions, was because of that. It was because of that merger that happened back in 2000, 2001.
Oh, interesting. And I
Boom.
do think it's kind of weird that they merged with AOL. But
Hey
then when
man.
AOL kind of collapsed, they sold it off, and then AT&T bought it for 85 billion. So
Yes.
AOL bought it for 162 billion. Now AT&T bought
Hmm.
it for 85 billion. And from there, it was the era that we know.
Hmm.
With the whole HBO Max, they're the one that started and focused on building it together with the
Yes.
CEO at the time, Jason Kilar. And it's very interesting to see the progress of what they're trying to do. Like AT&T has no idea what they're doing owning Warner Brothers. They're making movies, they're building debt, and because of how huge Netflix is, they decided to focus to get into the streaming network. They spend billions of dollars to build up the platform to create HBO Max, and we like it. A lot of people like it. They always had great content because they own so much IP, and
Right.
they were just going to build off of that. Now, what made them lose a lot of money was pretty much the pandemic. They had a lot of great movies lined up, but because they couldn't wait like another 2 years to put them in the movie theater, they did a lot of straight to streaming, which I
Yeah.
agree, and I know you disagree, but I still believe the
100%.
home entertainment theater is the future compared to going to movie theaters every single time something releases. But that messed them up. That messed them up pretty bad, and that kind of messed up their relationships with a lot of studios because they kind of lost out on a lot of money, especially in this digital age where DVD and Blu-ray DVDs don't make up a lot of the sales like it used to back then. That's why
Right.
that's why most of our movies are a little bit lackluster compared to before because they're just not as profitable. So no one's gonna put on money. Now then, recently, AT&T pretty much sold it off to Discovery for roughly $43 billion, which is insane because AT&T spent so much for it. They pretty much sold it for a little bit less than half.
Yeah,
Um,
notice how the numbers are always is going down even more, from AOL to AT&T to now Discovery.
and I'm glad you brought that up because it's not about the value of it. It's pretty much the debt that it comes with. Because you're
Mm.
buying the company for X amount, but you're also getting the debt that you have to pay off too.
Oh, you're inheriting that debt too.
And they know that. So that's why the price is down. So let's say if there's no debt, then of course they could have bought this for 200 billion. But because they owe so
Mhm.
much money, they said, okay, we'll knock down the prices for you. Now,
Got
the
it.
current CEO of Discovery is now David Zeloff, and he's very, very Discovery focused.
That's right, my guy.
He, and
Sorry.
I think you said you had Discovery Plus.
I have Discovery Plus because I have Verizon, and when you have Verizon, you just get Discovery Plus for free. So, I got Discovery Plus. I watched 90 Day Fiance. I think I talked about that a lot on this platform.
Is there any
That's about
other
it.
show? Oh, that's the only show that you watch in that.
That's the only show I care about to watch on Discovery. They have the Food Network as well on Discovery Plus, and so sometimes I will like to watch Good Eats from the OG Alton Brown. They need to bring back Iron Chef America though. That was one of my favorite shows growing up, as well as Emerald Lagasse, Emerald Live. He was cool too.
Okay, so
But
it also owns part of the Food Network. You said?
That's all. Yeah, that's the Food Network. That's all the Food Network
Okay. Now, are there shows that you want to watch eventually if you had time?
on Discovery Plus. No,
Interesting.
Discovery Plus is a joke.
See, that's very important to understand because of David Zeloff, he's decided to remove a lot of the IPs that they have within HBO since now they own it.
Right.
Now, the problem with streaming, which I always said, is we don't have time, right? Sometimes we don't have time to watch the content because of how there's so much things to watch, the
Yeah.
culture surrounding certain things. You just trying to find times like I will eventually watch Game of Thrones. That was me
Right.
for like what 7 years until the last
Right.
season that I decided to binge it. I will eventually get around to it, but the reason I wasn't in such a hurry is I always had HBO. If I
That.
didn't have HBO, I think I would have been a fan and watch it year to year just like you. But I always have it, so I will eventually watch it. Now
Right.
that's kind of how things are done in the streaming age because we only have X amount of hours during the week that we use for entertainment purposes. Today's the first game for Knicks basketball. That's a what like at least 2 to 9 hours of my week focused on just watching Knicks games. That's already
Yeah.
gone, disappeared, boom, gone.
Damn.
Right? That's just what's fighting for my time. I'd rather watch the Knicks play rather than do anything unless I just give up watching the first half, then I just do something else. We lost in overtime today, just letting you know. But we played a good game. Just RJ Barrett was off. So now, one of the reasons they are removing most of their IEP is because they don't want to deal with the marketing of it. Batgirl and Scoop 2. They already
Hmm.
spent 90 million on Batgirls. Like, why should we spend another 90 million to market only for it to be straight to HBO? It's like we're not even going to put this in the theater or
Right.
write it off. Scoop. I think they're almost done with production. It's like, why would I promote this? Maybe I could.
Scoops too.
I don't know if it was going to be popular or not. I never watched the first one either. So they
Me neither.
so they removed
There you
that.
go.
And they also want to stop paying residuals to the artists. Um, and the weird thing is the way residuals work for especially for cartoons is like the artists they will get residual payments and it will actually go to the union and the union will
Oh
actually
wow.
pay for their health care.
Wow.
So it's kind of
Okay.
this long term thing where a show like Infinity Train is being removed completely off the platform and there's nowhere else to find it because they don't make DVDs like they used to back then.
That is true.
And the only place you could find it was on streaming. So you're never like, oh, for me, it's like I watched season 1 to 3 and I said I will eventually watch season 4. I haven't. Now I can't unless I illegally download it. Now you're losing
Damn.
views.
Right.
So
Jeez.
that's pretty much what's happening in the streaming world because it's very important to understand that you lose more money in the long run by removing content. And just because you want to focus on your yearly profit margins, it doesn't help you in the long term. Because
Mm.
just because you're not profitable this year doesn't mean 2 years because that content was there and just picks up pace. That to in like let's say 2025, you're able to get extra residual income because of old content that you had, which is normally how it works sometimes.
Hmm. But I think just to give a little pushback here to defend Discovery, not that I want to, but um I think I think there's going to be certain cartoons or certain IPs that will make the money. I don't know how popular the show that you just discussed, Infinite, what's it called?
Infinity Train.
Infinity Train. I don't know how popular that show might be, and maybe due to the maybe lack of popularity with that show, maybe that's why it's gotten removed
So
from the platform.
for example, reason was
Okay.
what you said is true. It didn't hit the numbers that they wanted to hit as a cartoon.
Hmm.
So because it's not hitting those numbers, they don't see any purpose of trying to make products for it, trying to make people.
Right.
No one's gonna buy this stuff. It's not Adventure Time money, right? It's not SpongeBob money, which is the moneyest of
Mhm.
all money.
It's not Powerpuff Girls. It's not.
you're right. It's not that type of IP that we know we could build a collective future on. Like, oh, we're gonna drop season 4, and the money from that we could produce another show. That's not what they're looking at. Say, hey, if it doesn't hit these numbers and they're struggling to bring it back every single season, you're done. You know, I thought it was just going to get canceled. I didn't know season 4 was going to come out. I thought it was going to be canceled, and that's the end of the show. Perfectly fine, right? It has good 3 seasons. Anybody could check up and watch it. I always recommend it. Season 1 was always fun. Season 2 was really good. Season 3 I was okay with. Too much stuff going. So yeah, they just didn't care. So because they don't care about like long term and they're more focused on short term gains, they did lay off a lot of people because a lot of positions do cross over when you're working with Discovery. And if it seems that Discovery is the run that's really running the ship, why would I have HBO people out here? I'll just have my
Right.
people to stay.
Exactly. It's a new regime, and what unfortunately, whenever there's a merger that happens, and the person that the company that normally buys out a company, they're gonna want their people to run the ship. That's just how it is. We talked about this when Vince McMahon stepped down. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan came in. They dumped out of Vince's old people. They put in their new people. That's what happens when it comes to mergers and when people buy out different companies. It's normal to do that,
And because
unfortunately.
of that, the new normal will be Discovery Max or Discovery Plus Plus.
That's right,
They want to
baby.
remove HBO. The amount of debt that HBO Max still has because of how much it costs to build it. They're going to take all that content and, of course, throw it to Discovery. But at the same time, I think this is what they are saying they want to do is just make HBO the same way it's already been doing and just
Oh, okay.
create a one platform for everything, which is interesting. And I did read a lot of complaints and articles saying like HBO has like 60 million plus subscribers compared to Discovery Plus, which is less than
Yeah, of
10
course.
or less than
Yeah,
20.
it's freaking awful. It sucks.
So I don't know how they're going to kind of like push people to go straight to Discovery, and then it just being this one IP warehouse.
I don't think they can, honestly, because the audiences are vastly different, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think HBO users wants to see Usman just make a collab on House of Dragons. I don't think that's gonna happen. That's not gonna
They're
be
not
good.
fusing IP. I ain't say all that, but that
I
would be
know,
nuts.
but
Actually, no, you know what? Okay, so before 90 Day Fiance, there's usually like this program where other couples are watching giving commentary on older episodes before the show,
yeah,
right?
right.
So maybe that's what they're gonna do. Ask Usman to do commentary on the newest the season finale of
Game of House
House of
of
Dragons.
Dragon.
Yeah.
I would pay to see that actually. That would be pretty funny.
So
I would watch it.
so now they're laying off so many people. One of the groups that they're focused on is the writers, the directors, and the creators. And
Mm-hmm.
I've been saying this for a long time, ever since that writer strike. And if you ever watch a TV show that came out in like 2005, and for some reason there is a season like let's say like season 1 through 5, every episode is 24 episodes, but for some reason season 3 is 12 episodes. That's the writer strike. All right,
Mm-hmm.
that's the writer strike. That changed everything on how today's current Hollywood feels about writers. Say, oh yeah, we want to make a lot of money off you guys, but we don't want to pay you. So
Right.
now we're going to see more reality TV shows. So guys like Usman, who's not getting paid by 90 Day
He's
Fiance,
not.
it's the person this the American that he likes is
Who is it? Kim?
yes,
Kim's getting paid.
the American will always get paid by 90 Day Fiance, not the foreign. They're not interested in
Right.
them whatsoever.
It's actually really gross.
So that's easy content for them. That's easy reality show money. And
It's
just
cheap.
and just talk about the 90 Day Fiance and how ridiculous of a show it is. It could be one episode long, but nothing going on because they're stretching
That's
it.
true.
So
Yeah.
so they can stretch nonsense. They could stretch like maybe 3 words or 3 months worth of content in 12 episodes when it can easily be done in like 4 episodes.
Yeah,
So
people are gonna watch it
people are going to watch it. They have cultivated a fan base. Everybody's disturbed watching the show, but they can't look away.
because we feel like our lives is a lot better than what we're seeing right now. And also, I'm always rooting for the immigrants, always.
So in this day and age, we're really focused on the reality show aspect. We want to compare ourselves. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff is all fusing into one thing, you know.
Yes.
Of course, not all these people have star power. It's really hard to find a Flavor of Love season 2 New York, right? Or season 1 New
Yeah.
York in hoops.
Season
Those are
one.
star power celebrities. Like if that show came out in today, all the girls will be super famous, 500K Instagram followers.
100%.
Just a different
100%.
era that we're aiming for right now. So people will actually participate in these reality TV shows because it's the fastest way to become an influencer.
Right. Celebrity-ish. Famous.
Famous, 15 minutes of fame. You know, Andy
Yeah,
Warhol, your 15 minutes,
absolutely.
and that's the era
Um,
that we're getting ourselves into.
Unfortunately, well, fortunately now there was this belief that due to the merger that Warner was going to shut down Cartoon Network after celebrating their 30th year on air. There was this belief that Cartoon Network, as we know it, it's no longer going to exist. But Cartoon Network, the channel, was going to be shut down, and a lot of people were definitely hurt by this. And
Apparently, the
um,
website that released it is like the TMZ of cartoons.
the TMZ of cartoons.
Yeah,
Whoa,
yeah.
wow, That's an interesting way to describe it. Because hey, TMZ, they're very accurate. Despite how scummy you may think they are,
Well,
they're still very accurate.
the first article will always miss some first details.
Fair.
So that's kind of what was missing eventually. In that story, that's
Okay.
why a lot of people thought that they were shutting down Cartoon Network altogether.
Right.
But yeah, continue.
They're not. Yeah, but turns out, I'll just say this first, but so when we found out initially that that was the story, a lot of people had choice words for it. That everyone felt some type of way about it. Um I grew up as a Nickelodeon kid. I like Cartoon Network and all, but I was more Nickelodeon, but I enjoyed Cartoon Network growing up. Of course, Powerpuff Girls, Cow and Chicken, Ed, and Eddie, Codename Kids Next Door, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. I love Cartoon Network. Don't get me wrong. Oh, and of course, they introduced me to Toonami. Of course, Dragon Ball Z,
Adult Swim.
Full Metal Alchemist. You know what I'm saying? Inuyasha, Space Coast, Coast to
Yeah,
Coast.
Adult
You know what I
Swim.
mean?
Adult Swim.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways,
It's Adult Swim is connected to Cartoon Network Studio, right? Or it's a separate thing.
yes, I thought it was.
Interesting. I have to double check. I think it's like connected but separate.
But yeah, but it turns out that that rumor that news was false, and Cartoon Network is still going to be around, so no need to worry. It's just the studios that it once was is it's no longer going to be there. That's shutting down. So Warner's going to put in their own people. You know how that goes. It's a merger. It's a
So
merger.
my,
Cartoon Network isn't going anywhere.
so my thing as like a 20-year-old, 28-year-old millennials, like, do I care about Cartoon Network not existing in today? One thing is,
Nope.
yeah, I do care, and I hope they continue to exist. But the way I look at it is cartoons aren't designed the same way as they used to back then.
Right.
They're not interested as much into original content. But at the same time, if you watch TV, if you have cable, right? It's kind of rare nowadays, but if you have cable and you watch a show, what time does the new episode come out? No one really knows. They just drop new episodes. Back then, it used to be new episodes Friday, 8 o'clock, all the
Yeah.
way until 10. You know,
Yeah.
that's easy. Now you know when a new episode's coming out, so you're going to try to watch it. Now, when Steven Universe, and the best way to understand Cartoon Network is just look at Steven Universe fans. They went like ghosts on when the hell they're going to get new episodes, to the point where they will mostly, of course, you heard the joke, play Teen Titan Go all day, And then
Mm-hmm.
once in a while they say, hey, we're gonna drop 6 episodes of Steven Universe back to back for a whole week. It's gonna be like Steven Universe Bomb, something like that. And then it will disappear for another 3 months again. So that's how cartoon shows were being built. Same way Disney was doing the same thing too, where they would just release 4 to 5 episodes at a time and disappear and come back to release those next episodes again. Now that makes it challenging for people to continue keeping up with it because they don't do reruns as either.
Hell no.
You
You get Teen Titans Go
you
reruns.
become fans of shows due to reruns. That's how I became a fan of Adventure Time. It was just on
Mm.
TV 1 hour of the day, like at 2 p.m. I just checked it out. Saw funny episodes about like the hot dogs getting lost in the maze, and I thought that was hilarious. And said, okay, I'm a check out. Yeah, the concept I just
You
explained it
really
to
just
you.
said that.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous concept of an episode, but I thought it was extremely funny. I said, all right, I gotta watch the whole show. That's how I became a fan.
Mm.
Reruns. That's how Friends, the most iconic sitcom TV show, became a huge phenomenal.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. Seinfeld.
Seinfeld too. Over the summer, let that run. Season 1, boom. Office reruns.
Mm-hmm.
They just let those first 6 episodes, season 1, even though it looks weird because the coloring was off. It popped off. It's hey, we have enough views to do season 2. Okay, let's do season 2. So my whole thing is yes, like Cartoon Network isn't the same as when we were younger, but one, if they create new original content, they have to figure out how to get people to know when there's new episodes, when it's all out, and how to stay connected to it. So that's, in my opinion, that's the hardest part. I don't know how they're gonna do it. They need those views, and there's no such thing as
Definitely.
rerun. You have to watch it on your own free time.
Definitely. Definitely. And with that, I want to thank everyone for tuning into Black Seinfeld, show about nothing. Hope you enjoy this episode. We were going to get into music, but damn it, we ran out of time because we care about this merger, damn it. Well, Bashtin does. I don't really care, all right? I want to see a cartoon version of Iron Chef. That would be tight on Cartoon Network. That would
No
be
one's
cool.
producing it. That's what I'm trying to say. It'll be like maybe produce 5 new shows. I
Think about it, Bashtin.
Yeah.
Total drama Iron Chef. That would be tight.
Yeah.
That would be tight.
Wait, who's dropping the new The Rock movie this year?
Black Adam?
Yeah. That's Warner Brothers, right?
I mean, it is Warner Brothers because it is DCEU, but also I guess it's Discovery now too. I know The Rock's production has a hand on this too. So is this $7 production as well that's dropping this?
So
is it DCEU? Is it Warner?
No,
is
no,
it?
dude, it's Warner. Like, don't confuse
Okay.
yourself. It's Warner.
All right.
You know,
Okay.
it's everything is still separate but together.
Got it.
All right. Don't confuse yourself. So the 2 movies that Warner Brothers dropped this year is going to be Don't Worry, Darling, and
Well,
that's a Warner Brother, and Black Adam. That's how sad we are in the world of movies. They only dropped
Wait a
2
minute.
movies this year.
What about the Batman that dropped in February?
Last year?
No, it dropped in February. Matt Reeves.
I know.
You were there, bro. This was February.
February.
Yes.
Okay, so it's just those 3 movies.
We went to BBQ after.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay, that was February.
Okay. So I guess they could only afford to drop 3 movies then.
I mean, at least I've heard so far. I haven't heard anything bad about Black Adam yet. I heard Don't Worry, Darling sucks. Just plain out simple. I heard it's bad. So hopefully 2 out of 3. That's that. You know what? It's a 67%. You didn't really fail, but you didn't really pass. So it'll be a D. So hopefully, Warner Brother gets a D this year when it comes to movie releases.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll give you a D plus and the only reason why you get the plus because the Batman was really good.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, anyways, thank you all again for tuning into Black Seinfeld, the show about nothing. Once again, if you enjoyed what we have to offer, please subscribe to all of our podcasting platforms. Go to blackseinfeld.com if you want to listen to all the latest and greatest episodes. And don't forget to hit us up, blackseinfeldny@gmail.com for any sort of tips and tricks and thoughts about this week's episodes. Until then, we'll see you all next week at the end of Spooktober. Until then, here is Megan the Stallion featuring Rico Nasty with Scary. Take care, everyone.
Peace.
Peace.